I came home to find my belongings in the trash in the garage. My son-in-law, with a smug look on his face, said, "You no longer live in this house. My father needs the room." I looked him straight in the eye and replied coldly, "Then I'll throw out another piece of trash from my house. Betrayal by family hurts, but justice is sharper than a knife. It's time to show who really holds the power. Prepare for revenge that will change everything." Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The hickory smoke had settled into my clothes so deep that even the November wind couldn't shake it loose. I locked the front door of Freeman's Smokehouse, tested the handle twice like always, then walked across the parking lot toward my truck. Friday nights used to drain me, but tonight I felt light. Tomorrow was Michael's wedding, and I had something special waiting at home. My grandfather's ring and a check for $15,000 I'd been setting aside for months. I climbed into the truck and pulled out my phone before starting the engine. Michael answered on the third ring. "Son, I'm so happy about tomorrow," I said, unable to keep the warmth out of my voice. "Your mother would have been proud. I've got something special waiting for you." Silence stretched longer than it should have. Then Michael's voice came through, tight and strange. "Yeah, Dad, about that?" More silence. I heard muffled sounds, like someone covering the phone. Then a woman's voice, sharp and clear. "We've decided not to invite you, Jennifer." Not asking, telling. "It'll be intimate, just close people." I gripped the steering wheel. "Is this a joke, Michael? Your father doesn't fit the level we're going for." Jennifer again, each word landing like a hammer. "I'm sure you understand." I waited for Michael to say something, anything. The silence expanded until it filled the cab of my truck, pressed against my chest. My son said nothing. I ended the call, didn't argue, didn't plead, just pressed the red button and sat there, staring at the dark windshield. After a while, I started the engine and drove home. No radio, no music, just the hum of tires on asphalt and my own breathing. Inside the house, I tried to sleep but couldn't. The ceiling fan spun lazy circles above me while I stared at it, replaying Jennifer's voice, searching for the moment in that phone call where my son had defended me. There wasn't one. Around midnight, I got up and pulled the old photo album from the living room shelf. I turned pages slowly. Michael at 5, standing beside me the day we opened the smokehouse, wearing a paper crown from Burger King because he'd insisted he was the king of barbecue. Michael at 12, learning to monitor the smoker temperatures. Michael at 18, hugging me after graduation. I closed the album and set it on the coffee table. The grandfather clock in the hallway struck 3 in the morning. By 6, I gave up on sleep entirely. I made coffee, carried the mug to my home office, and opened my laptop. Saturday morning habit: check the business accounts, review the week's numbers, plan the inventory orders. I logged into the main account and froze. Negative $85,000. I set down the coffee mug, hands suddenly unsteady, clicked on the transaction history. 1 withdrawal, 3 days ago, Tuesday. Authorization, Michael Freeman, co-owner. Note, wedding expenses. I read it 3 times. Then I printed the statement, watching each page slide into the tray with a soft mechanical whisper. The numbers didn't change. $85,000. Gone, not asked for, not discussed, just taken. I spread the papers across my desk. Outside, the first pale light of dawn crept through the window. The wedding was in 5 hours. My son had stolen from the business that fed him his entire life, then uninvited me from his wedding because I didn't fit the level they were going for. I picked up my phone and pulled up the bank's customer service number. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The bank opened at 8. I'd been sitting at my desk for 2 hours by then, the printed statements arranged in chronological order, a notepad beside them filling with questions. The customer service line rang 4 times before someone answered. I explained the situation calmly, without emotion, got transferred, explained again. Finally, a manager came on. "Mr. Freeman, I'm looking at the transaction now." Her voice carried professional sympathy. "Your son has co-owner access with full signature authority. Legally, this was authorized. Though I understand why you're upset. Is there any recourse?" I asked. "Not from our end. This is a business partnership issue. You might need to consult an attorney." I thanked her, wrote down her name, noted the time of the call. Legal but unethical. I was still processing that distinction when I heard a car door slam outside. 10 in the morning, 1 hour before the ceremony. Through the front window, I watched Michael's car pull into my driveway too fast. tires barking against the pavement. Both of them jumped out. Michael in dress pants and a half-buttoned shirt. Jennifer in full makeup, her face tight with panic. They rushed to my door and pounded on it. I walked slowly to answer. When I opened the door, I didn't step aside. I stood in the frame, blocking entry. "Leonard, please," Jennifer's voice broke. Tears appeared on command. "I made a mistake. I was stressed about the wedding. You can come now. We want you there. But we need help. The caterer just cancelled, and we need $40,000. Or there's no reception." Michael crowded in behind her, nodding like a puppet. "Dad, it's my wedding day. I'm your son. Family helps family. You've always been there for me." I looked at them both. Really looked. Jennifer's tears were real enough, but they weren't remorse. They were fear. Michael's eyes darted everywhere except to mine. Not shame, desperation. They didn't want me at the wedding. They wanted my wallet. Something inside me went cold and still. "Get off my property," I said, quiet, final. Michael's expression shifted. "Dad, you can't. We're about to lose everything. I said now." I stepped back and closed the door. Not a slam, just a steady pressure until the latch clicked. Then I turned the deadbolt. The sound echoed in the hallway. Outside, Jennifer's voice rose sharp and furious. "This is insane. Your father is ruining our wedding." Michael's response was muffled, defeated. "Just get in the car." Doors slammed. The engine started. Tires squealed as they backed out fast and drove away. I stood in my hallway for a moment, listening to the silence return. Then I walked back to my office, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. I pulled up the partnership agreement I'd signed 3 years ago when I'd made Michael a 20% owner, made him part of something I'd built from nothing. I read every clause, every condition, every line of fine print. Then I opened a search window and typed "Business Attorney, Atlanta, Georgia." The first 3 results offered free consultations. I clicked through each website, reading their specialties: business disputes, partnership dissolution, breach of fiduciary duty. I opened a notepad document and began drafting an email, keeping my language precise and factual. No emotion, just dates, amounts, documentation. Outside my window, the afternoon light had shifted. Hours had passed. My phone showed 7 missed calls from Michael. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I saved contact information for 3 attorneys and attached scanned copies of the bank statements to my draft email. Somewhere across town, a wedding was probably happening, maybe without a caterer, maybe falling apart in real time. I didn't care. I had work to do. I clicked send on the first email, then began the second. Sunday morning, I woke to pale light filtering through the bedroom curtains. My phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark. 7 voicemails from Michael I hadn't opened, wouldn't open. I showered, dressed in pressed slacks and a button-down shirt, then made coffee in the kitchen while reviewing the notes I'd compiled the previous afternoon. 3 attorney names, highlighted sections of the partnership agreement, questions requiring professional answers. At 9 a.m. exactly, I called the first number. David Reed, recommended by the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. His assistant answered with efficient courtesy. "My name is Leonard Freeman," I said. "I need counsel on a partnership dispute. I understand Mr. Reed comes highly recommended by the chamber." A pause, some muffled discussion, then, "Mr. Reed can meet with you this afternoon at 2. Would that work?" It would. I spent the morning organizing documents, partnership agreement, bank statements, my timeline of events, into a folder. Everything chronological, everything factual. Reed's office occupied the 14th floor of a downtown building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He met me in a conference room, mid-40s, sharp-eyed, wearing a dress shirt with rolled sleeves despite it being Sunday. I appreciated that. A man who worked weekends understood commitment. I laid out the situation methodically. My son became a 20% co-owner 3 years ago, a gift for his 30th birthday. He has signature authority on business accounts. 3 days before informing me I wasn't invited to his wedding, he withdrew $85,000. The notation read, "Wedding expenses." Reed examined each document carefully, asking precise questions. Did Michael consult me about the withdrawal? No. Was there any prior discussion about using business funds for personal purposes? None. Had he ever made unauthorized withdrawals before? Not that I'd discovered. After 20 minutes, Reed set down his pen. "Mr. Freeman, your son has signature authority, so legally he can access these funds. However, fiduciary duty requires co-owners to act in the business's interest, not personal interest. He violated that duty. What are my options?" Reed pulled the partnership agreement closer, flipped to page 7. "We can litigate. 6 to 12 months. Uncertain outcome. Expensive. Or we use this clause. You buy him out at book value. 12,000 for a 20% share. He took 85. You take back control for 12. I saw the mathematics checks immediately. Michael would receive roughly 15% of what he'd stolen. Clean, elegant, just. The second option, I said. How quickly can we move? I'll have documents ready by Tuesday. Official notification by Wednesday latest. I left Reed's office as the afternoon sun slanted through downtown Atlanta, drove back home with the windows down, letting cool November air clear my thoughts. The plan had structure now, legal framework, timeline. Monday morning, I opened Freeman's Smokehouse at 6 a.m. like always. The rhythm of prep work steadied me, checking smoker temperatures, reviewing supply deliveries, setting up the front counter. Business as usual. Around noon, Marcus Webb came through the door, camera bag slung over his shoulder. I'd known Marcus for years through community events, weddings, celebrations. He ordered brisket and sat at the counter. "How's the photography business?" I asked while plating his order. "Steady. Actually, funny coincidence. I got contacted about shooting a wedding this Saturday. Michael Freeman and Jennifer Carter. Any relation?" I kept my expression neutral, slid the plate across the counter. "That's my son. Small world. They rescheduled after something fell through last weekend. Smaller venue, different caterer. Michael mentioned his dad runs Freeman's. Helped him secure financing, he said. Guess that's you." Financing. My chest tightened, but I managed a smile. "Is that right? Well, I hope their day goes smoothly." Marcus ate his brisket, talked about other upcoming jobs, paid and left. I returned to my office and closed the door. Sat at my desk, breathing slowly. Michael had rescheduled Saturday, 1 week away, and he'd told people my established business helped secure financing. Jennifer's parents, based on my reputation, using my name as collateral for a wedding that excluded me. That evening, I sat at my home office desk with a legal pad, drew connections. Michael rescheduled for Saturday, borrowed money from the Carters, used my reputation as guarantee. On another section, buyout documents being prepared, access locks coming, legal authority I possess. I picked up my phone and texted Reed, "Proceed with the documents. I want this done by Wednesday." His response came immediately. "Understood. I'll have everything ready by tomorrow afternoon." I set the phone down, added one final line to my notes. "Change all access codes Tuesday night." For the first time since Friday, I allowed myself a thin smile. Tuesday morning, I arrived at Reed's office at 10 a.m. A stack of documents waited on the conference table, edges aligned perfectly. Reed walked me through each page with methodical precision. Notification of partnership dissolution, share buyout offer at book value per section 7.3, the breach of fiduciary duty clause, calculation showing $12,000 for the 20% stake, timeline for Michael's response, 10 business days, transfer of sole ownership upon acceptance or legal completion. I read everything twice, asked questions about potential countermoves Michael might attempt. Reed's answers were clear and confident. The breach was documented. The clause was enforceable. Michael could contest, but he'd lose. I signed each page. A notary certified the documents. Reed scheduled a process server to deliver them that afternoon. By noon, I was back at Freeman's Smokehouse. Went directly to my office, closed the door, opened my computer. One by one, I changed passwords, business bank account access, online ordering system, supplier portals, website backend, email accounts connected to the business. Each change locked Michael out of systems he'd used for 3 years. I created a list documenting every modification, stored it in a secure file. Then I called the bank. "Mr. Freeman, will need the notarized documents before removing signature authority," the manager explained. "Once we receive them, it's a 24-hour process. We'll send confirmation." Reed's courier would deliver them within the hour. Wednesday morning began quietly. I opened the smokehouse at 6 a.m., began prep work for the day. Around 9, my phone erupted. 7 calls from Michael in 15 minutes. I let each one go to voicemail. Finally, around 9:30, I listened. Michael's voice progressed through stages. First call, confused. "Dad, what is this? I can't access the accounts. I got papers about a buyout. $12,000. This is insane." Third call, angry. "You're doing this because I didn't invite you to the wedding? That's pathetic. We can work this out if you'd just act like an adult." Seventh call, furious. "This is revenge. Pure revenge. You're supposed to be my father. I'll fight this. My attorney will be in touch. This isn't over." I deleted the messages, saved them to a backup folder. Evidence. Around 10 a.m., I called him back. He answered before the first ring finished. "Dad, finally, you took $85,000 from the business without authorization, I said, keeping my voice level. You violated your duties as a co-owner. I'm protecting my business. Your attorney can contact mine. Dad, we can work this out. I'll pay it back. Your attorney can contact mine. I ended the call, set the phone on my desk, returned to work. That afternoon, Diane Morris knocked on my office door. She'd been my bookkeeper for 15 years, knew the business operations better than anyone except me. Her expression carried concern. Leonard, I found this contract in the files. She set a document on my desk. Michael signed it 3 weeks ago. It's for Piedmont Bistro, monthly deliveries at prices that barely cover our costs. You never mentioned this arrangement. I picked up the contract, read it carefully. Piedmont Bistro, upscale restaurant downtown. Michael had promised them monthly meat deliveries at wholesale prices that would generate minimal profit. Signed in Freeman Smokehouse's name without consultation, designed to make Michael look good to the restaurant, not to benefit the business. I never knew about it, I said. Keep that file secure. I need to send a copy to my attorney. After Diane left, I photographed the contract from multiple angles. Clear images of Michael's signature, the terms, the date. 3 weeks ago, right before he'd withdrawn the money. I opened my email and sent the photos to Reed with a brief note. Further violation strengthens our position. His response came within minutes. Received the contract evidence. This eliminates any possible defense he might mount. You have complete legal standing. Wednesday evening, the smokehouse quiet after closing, I sat in my office. On my desk, the unauthorized restaurant contract. Printed confirmation from the bank that Michael's signature authority had been removed. My phone showing 17 missed calls from Michael throughout the day. None answered. I opened a browser window and typed Robert Carter, Carter Construction, Atlanta, Georgia. It was time to have a conversation with Jennifer's father. Thursday morning, I sat at my office desk in the smokehouse. The search results for Robert Carter still glowing on my computer screen. Carter Construction, 30 years in business, commercial buildings across Metro Atlanta, headquartered in Buckhead. I found the company address and a direct office number. I didn't call ahead. Instead, I spent 2 hours assembling a folder. Bank statements showing the $85,000 withdrawal, the unauthorized Piedmont Bistro contract Diane had discovered, printed emails where Michael had promised suppliers expanded operations from Freeman Smokehouse without my knowledge. The legal buyout documents served to him Tuesday. Everything organized chronologically, everything professional. Around 11 a.m., I locked the front door of the smokehouse and flipped the sign to closed, something I rarely did during business hours. Drove north through Atlanta traffic toward Buckhead, the folder on the passenger seat beside me. The Carter residence occupied a corner lot in one of Buckhead's established neighborhoods. 2-story brick colonial, manicured lawn, 3-car garage, the kind of home that spoke of stability, success, family dinners. I parked on the street and walked to the front door carrying my folder. Patricia Carter answered the bell, late 50s, well-dressed in casual slacks and a silk blouse, her expression pleasant until I introduced myself. Before she could speak, Robert Carter appeared behind her, tall, solid build, the posture of someone accustomed to making decisions and living with them. Mr. Carter, I said, meeting his eyes directly. I'm Michael Freeman's father. I believe you recently loaned money to my son for his wedding. I need 15 minutes of your time. What I have to show you concerns that loan. Robert studied me for a moment, then stepped back. Come in, though I'm not sure what this is about. Their living room felt formal, expensive furniture, family photos on the mantel, including several of Jennifer at various ages. I sat in the chair they offered, but didn't settle back. Opened the folder on the coffee table. I'll be direct, I said. I discovered last Saturday that Michael withdrew $85,000 from our business account without my authorization or knowledge. He did this 3 days before calling to tell me I wasn't invited to his wedding. I slid the bank statements across the table. This is the documentation. Patricia leaned forward, scanning the papers. Robert picked up the statement, examined the date, the amount, the authorization line showing Michael's name. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding, Patricia said, her voice carrying defensive edges. Jennifer said there were family complications, but every wedding has stress. I pulled out my phone, opened the voicemail app, selected one of Jennifer's messages from that Saturday morning, pressed play. Jennifer's voice filled the living room, sharp and contemptuous. Your father is embarrassing, Michael. He runs a barbecue place. My friends would laugh. You need to cut him out. This is about our future, not his feelings. Patricia's face paled. I played 2 more, each one worse than the last, each one dripping with class contempt and casual cruelty. Robert set down the bank statement, his jaw tight. When did you discover the theft? Saturday morning, the day of their first wedding attempt. What legal action have you taken? I produced the buyout documents. My attorney and I invoked a clause in our partnership agreement. Michael violated his fiduciary duties as a co-owner. I'm buying out his 20% stake at book value, $12,000. Market value would be approximately $80,000. Robert's eyes narrowed slightly. He understood business. He understood what he was seeing. Michael told us he was a co-owner in a stable family business, solid income stream. That's why we felt comfortable with the loan. He was a co-owner, a gift I gave him 3 years ago for his 30th birthday. But he violated his responsibilities. I pulled out the Piedmont Bistro contract. This is an unauthorized agreement he signed in the business's name 3 weeks ago. Promised deliveries at prices that barely cover costs. Never consulted me. I only discovered it Wednesday. Robert took the contract, read it carefully. His expression darkened. Why are you here telling us this? He asked. I closed the folder but left it on the table. I'm not asking you for anything. Not support, not intervention, not money. But your daughter and my son are building a marriage on lies and stolen funds. You loaned them cash, believing Michael had a secure stake in a family business. That's no longer true. You deserve to know the foundation before Saturday. I stood. Patricia remained pale, staring at the documents. Robert rose with me. Whatever you decide to do with this information is your choice, I said. I just wanted you to have the truth. Robert walked me to the door. On the front step, he extended his hand. His grip was firm, decisive. I appreciate your honesty, he said. That took character. I'll handle this. I drove back to the smokehouse, uncertain what they'd do, but satisfied I'd given them the truth. Friday passed in routine. Customers, orders, prep work. That evening around 8, my phone rang. Michael's number. I didn't answer. 3 more calls, then a text. What did you do? Jennifer's parents are threatening to cancel everything. I read the message, set the phone face down on my desk. The consequences were cascading now, not from my actions, but from Michael's choices finally meeting reality. Saturday morning, I opened Freeman's Smokehouse at 6 a.m. The familiar routine steadied me, checking smoker temperatures, pulling overnight brisket, prepping ribs for the lunch crowd. Today was supposed to be Michael's wedding day. The second attempt. My phone had been silent since I'd ignored his texts last night. Around 8, a regular customer came in for an early order. While I plated his food, he scrolled through his phone and chuckled. Hey, Leonard, you see that stuff on social media about some wedding disaster in Buckhead? Crazy. Can't say I have, I said, sliding his plate across the counter. What can I get you to drink? I knew what was likely happening. The Carters had withdrawn their support. The venue demanded payment. 80 guests were arriving to a ceremony that couldn't proceed. I kept working. Throughout the morning, my phone rang repeatedly. Michael's number, then Jennifer's, then numbers I didn't recognize. I glanced at each call, watched it ring, let everyone go to voicemail, didn't listen to the messages. At 10 a.m., the scheduled ceremony time, I was serving a line of Saturday customers. Someone ordered pulled pork. Someone else wanted the brisket plate with extra sauce. The rhythm of work kept me grounded. This was what I'd built. This was what Michael had tried to take. Around 11, my phone buzzed with a group text. One of Michael's friends I'd met years ago. What's going on? We're at the hotel, but there's no wedding. I blocked the number. Sunday morning arrived cool and clear. I drove to the smokehouse for prep work. We opened at noon on Sundays, but prep started early. Around 9, while I was alone in the kitchen checking inventory, someone pounded on the front door. Through the glass, I saw Michael, disheveled, eyes red-rimmed, still wearing yesterday's dress shirt, now wrinkled and untucked. I considered not answering. Then I unlocked the door. He pushed in immediately, voice raised before he was fully inside. What did you do? You went to Jennifer's parents? You told them lies? The wedding? Everything? You destroyed it all because you're bitter and petty. People were starting to gather on the sidewalk. Sunday morning in Atlanta, folks heading to brunch spots in the neighborhood, drawn by shouting. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice, just gestured toward the door. Step outside, Michael. If you're going to make accusations, we'll do it where people can hear the truth. On the sidewalk, with maybe a dozen people watching, Michael's face flushed darker. He was trapped between his lies and public reality. You sabotaged my wedding. You turned her family against me. What kind of father does that? I spoke clearly, calmly. making sure the gathered crowd could hear. You took $85,000 from the business account without authorization. You told me I couldn't attend your wedding because I wasn't good enough. You lied to your fiancé's parents about having a secure stake in my business. You signed contracts using Freeman's Smokehouse without my permission. Everything happening now is the result of your choices, not mine. Michael's mouth opened, closed. He looked around at the witnesses, realized he had no defense that would work here. His expression shifted to something uglier. "You'll regret this," he said, voice low and tight. "Everyone will know what kind of person you really are. I'll make sure of it." He turned and walked quickly to his car, drove away too fast. An older black gentleman who'd been coming to the smokehouse for 15 years stepped forward. "Len," he said quietly, "I've been coming here since you opened. Whatever that boy said, we know who you are." "Appreciate that, sir." The small crowd dispersed. I went back inside, finished my prep work, opened for the Sunday lunch crowd at noon. That evening, someone forwarded me an Instagram post. Jennifer, in full wedding makeup and dress, standing alone in what looked like a hotel room. The caption was long, emotional, words like toxic behavior and sabotage, and using money as a weapon to control and manipulate. She wrote about how I'd refused to help family in need and destroyed what should have been the happiest day of their lives. The post tagged several Atlanta wedding vendors, used hashtags about family trauma, already had dozens of comments from her friends expressing outrage at the terrible father. Several mentioned Freeman's Smokehouse by name. I took a screenshot, saved it to my evidence folder. Then I closed the app. This storm would pass. The truth had a way of surfacing. Monday morning arrived with the storm cleared. Atlanta streets damp and clean under early sun. I drove downtown to David Reed's office, arriving before 9. I brought my phone with Jennifer's Instagram post still saved, along with screenshots of the comment thread. Dozens of her friends condemning me, several mentioning Freeman's Smokehouse by name, a few threatening to spread the word about my toxic behavior. Reed's office occupied the 15th floor, windows overlooking the city. We sat across from each other at the conference table. "Is this defamation?" I asked. "Can I take legal action against this post?" Reed reviewed the screenshots carefully, scrolling through the comments. After a moment, he set the phone down. "Technically, yes, but defamation suits take months and cost more than they're worth." He leaned back in his chair. "The better weapon? Truth." She posted emotion. "You have documentation. Respond publicly with facts. Brief, clear, with evidence attached. Let the community decide who's credible. Where should I post? Use the Freeman's Smokehouse page. It has legitimacy. 25 years of business credibility. Keep it factual. What he did, when he did it. What actions you took to protect the business. No emotions. Just timeline and evidence. I considered this. And if she responds, claims I'm manipulating the facts? Reed smiled slightly. You have bank records, legal documents, an unauthorized contract. She has a tearful photo and accusations. Let those speak for themselves. We spent an hour crafting the statement. Precise language, chronological facts, no emotion. Reed mentioned one more thing. The Piedmont Bistro manager was willing to provide a written statement about Michael's misrepresentation. More ammunition if needed. I returned to the smokehouse that afternoon. The lunch rush kept me occupied. Regular customers, familiar faces, people who'd eaten my barbecue for years. I didn't mention the social media situation, just focused on work. That evening at home, I opened my laptop and logged into the Freeman's Smokehouse Facebook page. Nearly 3,000 followers, customers, community members, local food enthusiasts. I typed the statement Reed and I had crafted. Recently, my son, having signature authority on our business account, withdrew $85,000 without consultation for personal expenses. When I asked about this, I was informed I was not invited to his wedding because I didn't meet the standard. I have taken legal action to protect the business that has supported my family for 25 years. This is not revenge, this is justice. I attached 3 images, bank statement screenshots with personal information redacted, the legal buyout notification, and the unauthorized Piedmont contract. Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., I published the post. Then I went to work. By 10 a.m., my phone buzzed constantly. Notifications flooding in, comments appeared within minutes. Long-time customers expressing outrage, community members offering support, people sharing their own stories of family business betrayals. The post got shared. Once, twice, dozens of times. By noon, 200 comments and growing. A customer at lunch mentioned it. Len saw that post on Facebook Facebook. Can't believe your own son would do that. We're with you. I appreciate it, I said, keeping focus on his order. Just protecting what I built. Now what can I get you today? Mid-afternoon, a reporter from a local Atlanta news blog emailed asking for an interview. I declined but confirmed the facts in the post were accurate. The story ran that evening. Local smokehouse owner speaks out after son's alleged theft and wedding snub. The narrative shifted. Jennifer's sympathy post was now being questioned. Her friends' supportive comments looked hollow against documented bank records. Some people found her employer's page and left negative reviews. Her Instagram comments shifted from support to skepticism. By Tuesday evening, Jennifer had made her account private. Michael's social media accounts were deleted entirely. That night, Marcus Webb texted, "Saw your post. I'm sorry that happened to you. I cancelled my contract with them yesterday. They still owed me a deposit, and after seeing the documentation, I don't trust I'd get paid." I texted back, "Appreciate the support. Hope you find better clients." Other vendors apparently made similar decisions. Jennifer's carefully constructed wedding plans weren't just cancelled, they were publicly dismantled. I didn't feel triumphant, just the weight of necessary actions taken. I returned to my evening routine, reviewing tomorrow's orders, checking smoker temperatures, preparing for another day of work. The business continues. That's what matters. Wednesday morning, I arrived at the smokehouse to find an email waiting. Not from Reed this time, but from an attorney I didn't recognize. The sender represented Michael Freeman. The email was formal, careful, proposing a settlement discussion regarding the partnership buyout. I forwarded it to Reed without responding. An hour later, Reed called. He agreed to the buyout. That's progress. But he wants you to pay off the Carter loan. He has impressive nerve. I'll give him that. No, I said immediately. Not $1 beyond what the buyout requires. He's an adult. Reed's tone was satisfied. I'll draft the response. The email went out before noon. Mr. Freeman accepts your client's agreement to the buyout terms as outlined. No additional financial assistance will be provided. Your client is an adult and must accept the consequences of his decisions. By afternoon, I knew it hit its target. Michael called, not leaving voicemails this time, just trying again every 30 minutes. I didn't answer. The pattern continued into evening. Then Jennifer called. I let that go to voicemail too. Didn't listen. Whatever crisis they were experiencing was of their own making. Wednesday night, Clarence stopped by the smokehouse just before closing. We sat in my small office, and he mentioned running into Robert Carter at a community business meeting. He gave those kids 1 week to return the $40,000, Clarence said, shaking his head. Deadline's Monday. They've got nothing. Spend it all on deposits and that dress. They're buried. Thursday afternoon, I was in the kitchen prepping brisket when Diane came back looking uncomfortable. "Someone's here to see you," she said. Jennifer, alone, dressed professionally in work clothes from her PR job, but her eyes were red-rimmed. I wiped my hands and met her in the dining area, away from customers but not in private. Her approach was different from Sunday's Instagram theatrics. She spoke quietly, attempting sincerity. "I influenced Michael. I pushed for the expensive wedding. I made poor decisions. This is my fault, not his." She paused, meeting my eyes. "But you don't want your son to suffer because of my mistakes, do you? If you could help with even part of what we owe my parents." I let her finish. Then I responded, my voice level and final. "Michael is a grown man. He made his choices. Taking money without permission, excluding me from his wedding, lying to your parents, signing contracts in my business's name. Those were his decisions. I'm not responsible for fixing the consequences." Jennifer's composure cracked. She shifted tactics. First pleading that they'd lose everything, then suggesting I was being cruel, finally hinting that Michael might never speak to me again if I didn't help. My expression didn't change. "Then that will be his choice too. I've spent 32 years being his father. I won't spend the rest of my life being his bank." Jennifer stood. Her professional mask was completely gone now, tears running down her face. Real ones this time, or convincing enough. She left without another word. Thursday evening, I had coffee with Clarence as promised. He mentioned something he'd heard through the neighborhood. Michael and Jennifer had a major argument yesterday, loud enough that neighbors in their apartment building complained. "Jennifer called Michael weak for not standing up to you," Clarence said. He blamed her for the expensive choices and social climbing. Pressure reveals character. Looks like neither of them liked what they found. I sipped my coffee and looked out at the evening street. I felt no satisfaction in their pain, just the knowledge that I'd held my ground. I chose truth and self-respect. They chose lies and appearances. The rest was inevitable. Thursday night, I sat in my living room with the television on, but not really watching. My phone lay on the coffee table, silent now after Wednesday's barrage. It buzzed. A text message. I picked it up, expecting another plea. Instead, it was David Reed. Buyout documents finalized. Bank will process transfer tomorrow. 12,000 to Michael's account. Full ownership returns to you. It's done. I read the message twice. Tomorrow was Friday. By end of business, Michael would no longer have any legal connection to Freeman's Smokehouse. The business I built would be entirely mine again. I typed back, "Thank you. I'll stop by Monday to sign final paperwork." I set the phone down and allowed myself a long breath. One more day, then this chapter closes. Friday morning arrived, the day the buyout became official. I opened Freeman's Smokehouse at 6 a.m., same as always. Went through the routines, checking smokers, seasoning brisket, arranging the dining area. The familiar rhythms steadied me. Around 8, as I checked the back smokers, I heard the front door chime. I walked out to find Michael standing in the dining area, alone. No Jennifer. He looked broken, dress shirt wrinkled, face unshaven, eyes carrying exhaustion that spoke of sleepless nights. He'd lost weight. The confident young man who'd dismissed me 2 weeks ago had been replaced by someone who understood consequences. I didn't speak first, just waited. His voice came out rough. "Dad, can we talk? Just 5 minutes, please." We sat at one of the restaurant tables, early morning light filtering through the windows. Michael didn't make excuses. The wedding's done, permanently. Jennifer's ending the engagement. Her parents are threatening to sue for the loan. Work found out about everything. I'm one incident away from being fired. He paused, drew a breath. "But I'm not here for money. I'm here to say I'm sorry, really sorry." He looked directly at me. "I was blind. I let Jennifer convince me you weren't enough, that your business wasn't impressive, that I needed to cut you out to move up. I was wrong about everything." I listened to all of it without interruption. When he finished, silence filled the space between us. Then I spoke, my voice measured. "Michael, I forgive you. I say that because you're my son, and that won't change. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust. Trust is rebuilt through years of consistent actions, not words spoken in crisis." He flinched slightly. "You made a choice 2 weeks ago when you said I didn't meet your standard. Those words showed me who you'd become. They opened my eyes. Is there any way to make this right?" His voice carried desperation. "To fix what I broke?" I stood, walked to my office, and returned with an envelope. Inside was a check for $12,000. I placed it on the table between us. "You're no longer a co-owner of Freeman's Smokehouse. This is the buyout payment, $12,000 for your 20% share. It's less than you took, but it's what the agreement stipulates. Use this money wisely, pay your debts, start rebuilding." Michael stared at the check. Something in his expression shifted, recognition that this was real, final, irrevocable. He picked it up with shaking hands. "If you want to rebuild what we had, father and son, then start by becoming a man I can respect. Show me through your choices, not your promises. Actions matter. Words don't." Michael left with the check. No further words exchanged. I watched him drive away, then return to work. The day proceeded normally. Customers, orders, the rhythms of a business that would now be entirely mine. That evening, as I closed up, my phone buzzed. Text from Robert Carter. "Wanted you to know. Jennifer and Michael ended their engagement this afternoon. She realized he wasn't who she thought he was, and he admitted he couldn't be who she needed. My wife and I appreciate your honesty throughout this situation. You're a decent man, Mr. Freeman." I read the message twice. I didn't feel triumphant. The dissolution of my son's engagement, the collapse of his plans, these weren't victories, just natural consequences of choices made. I texted back simply, "Thank you for letting me know." Then I locked the smokehouse door and drove home. The 2-week storm had passed. What came next was up to Michael. Saturday morning, August 30th, I opened Freeman's Smokehouse at 6 a.m. exactly, the day that was supposed to be Michael's second wedding attempt. I acknowledged this fact without dwelling on it, prepped the smokers, seasoned the brisket, arranged the dining area. The familiar routines grounded me. By 9 a.m., the first customers arrived. Walter, an older man who'd been coming for over a decade, shook my hand. "Len, I followed that whole situation online. You did what you had to do, standing up for yourself, That takes strength. Dignity is everything we've got. Appreciate that, Walter. What can I get you today? Throughout the morning, other customers echoed similar sentiments. Not pity, respect. A younger woman mentioned she'd shared my Facebook post because her brother went through something similar. In-laws who looked down on him for being a mechanic, she said. Not professional enough. Your story mattered to a lot of people. An older couple brought friends specifically to support the business. What you built here, 25 years, that's real success, not some fancy wedding. The community had rallied, not out of sympathy, but recognition. I thanked each person simply, then returned to serving food. This was what mattered. The work I'd built, the relationships I'd maintained, the reputation I'd earned. Michael tried to diminish it. These people never forgot its value. As evening approached, I drove home through the late August heat, changed out of work clothes, poured a bourbon, and sat on my front porch. The sky shifted from blue to orange to purple as the sun set over Atlanta. 63 years old, I'd spent 32 raising Michael, teaching him, building a business to pass down. 2 weeks ago, that son told me I wasn't good enough. Tonight, he had nothing. No wedding, no engagement, no stake in the family business. I should feel victorious. Instead, I felt the weight of necessary actions taken. My phone rang, Michael's name on the screen. I stared at it through 3 rings, considering not answering. Then I picked up. His voice was different than this morning, steadier but tired. Dad, I found a job. Warehouse work. Nothing fancy, but it's honest. Got a cheap apartment. Set up a payment plan with the Carters. 50 a week. It'll take years, but I'm paying them back. Silence stretched between us. Can I come see you sometime? Not for money or help, just to talk. I'd like to try to, I don't know, be a son you're not ashamed of. I sat forward in my chair, the bourbon glass in my other hand. I didn't answer immediately. I thought about who Michael was 2 weeks ago and who he might become. Then I spoke. When you're ready to talk as a grown man, not as a child looking for shortcuts, come visit, but not tomorrow, not next week. Come when you've become someone I can be proud of, when your actions match your words, when you've proven to yourself, not to me, that you've changed. Silence on the other end. Then Michael's voice, quiet. I understand, Dad. Thank you. The line went dead. I set the phone down and looked up at the night sky. Stars were visible despite the city lights, rare for Atlanta. I didn't feel joy, didn't feel triumph. I felt the bitter understanding that I'd had to defend my dignity against my own child. But I did it. I held the line. Freeman Smokehouse would continue operating. My reputation stood intact, and Michael received a lesson that might make him a better man. I remembered something my own father told me decades ago when I was young and facing a different kind of betrayal. Self-respect is the foundation of everything. Without it, nothing else matters. I protected that foundation. Through theft, rejection, manipulation, and public attacks, I held my ground. That was the real victory. Not defeating Michael, but refusing to compromise what I knew was right. I finished my bourbon, stood, and walked inside. Tomorrow the smokehouse opens again. Life continues, and that, I realized, is enough. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.